Jared Goff.
Yeah.
I got to say, I think he has gotten a bad rap, not just regionally, I think people are giving him a chance, but nationally.
Right,
I think he's gotten kind of a bad rap. I'm curious. We'll start here and then we'll get into a little more detail.
Okay.
But there's this debate going on, and everyone I talk to, it's like 50-50. So I'm curious where you land. Bridge quarterback, just getting him to the next guy, or the guy, and not just what will actually happen, but you're in Brad Holmes' head. Jump into Brad Holmes' head. Jump into Dan Campbell's head. What do they think? How do they see him in your mind?
Like Holmes is the one that's the best question. That's the one, the like $1 million one, really, in my mind, is what is your, you being Brad Holmes, what is your honest to God opinion of Jared Goff? Because you can look at this a couple different ways, right? I am of the belief that trading Stafford was the best move that they've, the best thing they've done this year. We'll say that. Had to happen, had to do it. They were able to get, a lot back, everything else, and we saw the return on that. But when you saw that, it was like, okay, well, did you take Goff because, you had to take his contract to get those picks back? Was that part of the deal? And if that's the case, then I'd be like, okay, fine. Then take the contract. He's 26 years old, 25, 26, whatever it is. Give him an offensive coordinator like Anthony Lynn, who works really well with younger guys, confidence problems, all these things. Maybe it'll, like you said, bridge, maybe 2 years it works. Maybe it does. If not, whatever. We'll get out of this deal and we'll move on to the next guy. Or is it, I really think Jared Goff got a bad rap with the Rams. I think that the system didn't work. I think he lost confidence, and I think we can fix him, and I think that there's a lot of good football in there, and I think he's our guy. I don't know what it is, and I don't know if he quite knows that either. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. And Holmes is the guy here that I think the opinion probably matters the most at the end of the day, because, they talk about collaboration and everything else. Like, Dan Campbell, I think, has probably, if you look at this objectively, I would think Dan Campbell would have the shorter rope, right, in this job. And so for Holmes, when you're making decisions that impact 5, 6, 7 years down the road, possibly, it's do you view Goff as a guy that you had to take to get back all the compensation that you got for the Stafford deal? Or do you see him as a guy that, hey, we can, put a new coat of paint on him, tweak a few things here, and he's not going to be as good as Stafford, but he'll be good enough, and we can build a team around him. That gets a little tricky, because building a team around a quarterback can sometimes, right? It doesn't work. It rarely works. And that's the ultimate question. I really don't know. And I don't know. It's hard, because I think Holmes, sometimes when we listen to him talk, is very careful with his words and what he says and what he doesn't say, especially about the quarterbacks, especially about Goff. I think he's played that really close to the vest, and I don't know. I think that he probably believes in Goff more than we probably do, just by, from the outside looking in. But I'm not sure how much. Like, I'm not sure if he would, like, ignore obvious this isn't working to hang on to him for longer, right? Like, that's the question I think I have in my mind. Like, are we going to get 15 months down the road and have our answer and still wonder, why is this not, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's, I think, my thing. I don't think, wherever you land on this, I don't think that he would go down with the ship if that's where his head is. Yeah. I think he would move off him. My take, not based on any fact, just based on reading the tea leaves, is they really do. It seems like it.
Like him. Mm-hmm. And when I had Burkett in, we played the clip of the press conference that the Detroit Lions had shared with their social media accounts. And, there was a part where Jared Goff's meeting the assistant coaches in the hallway. I'm sure you saw it at the time. And they're like high-fiving him and giving him a hug. And Jared Goff goes up and is like, hey, man, how you doing, sir, or whatever. And the coach is like, you kidding me? We got you, baby. Like, we're thrilled right now. It was like the Pope walking through my little church that I grew up in. Like, It was just a hero's welcome. This was not, oh, look, here's our Trent Dilfer to just hold down the fort.
No, it wasn't that.
No, there was not Ryan Fitzpatrick coming through on one of the 17 teams he's played for. Oh, okay, what's up, Fitzy? Like, this was the guy.
Right.
And that was just my read on it. I don't know how else to read it. If these coaches are sitting in a room, they're talking. There's no way if they were like, okay, you know what? He's not great. He's going to hold it down for us for a little bit. We're going to look to the future. That wouldn't be the response of multiple coaches when he walked down the hallway.
But wouldn't it, though? Because you're going to have to get him to work for you on some level. If he comes here and immediately walks into a situation and feels like, not this, because he's very careful, too, about what he says and doesn't say about the relationship with McVay and everything and with the Rams. But, like, if he showed up and it was like, who gives a shit if this guy's here? Like, this guy's broken down confidence-wise. I think that a lot of it with the Lions has been, like, we want to make sure he's coming into a situation. It's been very, like, college-y. It's been very, and I can see where people would get, like, man, like, oh, like it hurts your stomach or whatever to see some of this stuff because it's a little too syrupy. But like, that's what's happening. Like they've got damaged goods in a lot of areas, and it's like they've got to repair them. They've taken these guys. Like when you listen to Aaron Glenn talk about a guy like Quentin Dunbar, who was a former receiver who couldn't hack it there, but has a couple things that if it clicks, man, like it could work. And they have a lot of guys like that because you look at the roster and you're like, what did the last regime do? They destroyed the roster. So you had to figure out ways to sort of shed salary, field the most competitive team you could, and get building blocks for the future in 6 months or whatever before the season started with a horrible starting place. And so I looked at it that way and said, like, this first year is going to be rough. It's going to be really hard to judge it until we sort of see what they're doing with the roster when games start.
It's so funny. Like they're fake pumping up Jared Goff.
That's what it feels like.
It reminds me of have you seen Moneyball? Like when they signed Scott Hatterberg and they're moving him from catcher to first because he can't throw anymore, and he doesn't know what the he's doing, and he's at first base in spring training, and every ground ball it could be hit 3 miles an hour. Hey, Scotty H, picking machine, like like the guy's a professional baseball player, just talking to him like he's playing t-ball. Like, look, I mean, you may be right. You're not wrong about that. That's what they're trying to foster.
Yes,
but I didn't sense that was like oh, guys, he's coming. Hey!
They might have been genuinely excited.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not inside their head or heart, but my read on it was like they're actually thrilled to have him. Yeah. And I'm not so sure that they're wrong to be thrilled to have him. I think he's like pretty good.
He's solid. I mean, there's things that he does well. There's things that he does bad. I think that's the thing that I've noticed having watched a lot. And you go back and you watch, 2017 Jared Goff and you watch 2020 Jared Goff, and it's a completely different situation, but it's also a different team. When he comes into that situation with the Rams, the offensive line is very good, the run game is solid, and they work that play action to death. And he was the best play action quarterback in the NFL. He was never pressured, and if he was, it was a sack or whatever. But as time went on and they lost stuff up front, Todd Gurley goes through injuries, everything else, and you start relying on his arm more, then it changes. And he's not. Goff to me is not in people have their opinions of Matthew Stafford. I think Matthew Stafford is maybe he's not in the elite of quarterbacks, but he's in a tier above Jared Goff, I would say, as a football player. And I think everybody would agree with that. But the question would be is how much lower of a tier does Goff sort of fall into? And is he at the top of the next tier maybe, right? And I don't know, because athletically, Stafford had the ability to evade pressure the way Goff won't be able to. But then again, Detroit's built an offensive line in front of him that maybe will be good for the first time in ever, right? Ever. So possible. But like you said, I mean, there are things that he does that we can't unsee with the Rams. I mean, there are games where he's making those throws, down the seam and across the face, put the ball anywhere he wants. I mean, McVay's calling plays and, scheming things open, but 2017, 2018 Jared Goff was pretty damn good, and it was hard to find anything that you were like going to get overly worried or whatever about. And then as time went on and McVay wanted to evolve the offense and push the thing deep, well, now you found a ceiling and it's not going to work. It's not meshing anymore. So confidence falls apart. And you're left with the question of, like, what is he? What is Jared Goff? And I don't know if we know that yet still completely. But to your point, there's enough in there good, I think, to give it a chance to see if, well, maybe he regains confidence and can find himself back into a rhythm again. But I also, at the end of the day, I don't think the top out, like, his ceiling's not as high as Stafford's. I mean, it's not going to be the same.
No.
So how much further can you go on, right? And what can he give you to a point of, have you hit your ceiling and do you have to move on? And I guess that'll be the question that's unanswered here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why Stafford went there, and back with him came, the other way came Jared Goff, and a bunch 2 first-round picks, and a third-round pick. Like, no one even talks about the third-round pick. Right. That's like got real.
That's a big deal. Yeah, I mean,
that's a substantial asset as well. So it's like, obviously, I think he's objectively better. I mean, otherwise, why would you do that? For the record, I think that trade would have been a good trade. Not that it was compatible with the Rams situation, but in a world where it was, that would have been a good trade with no Goff at all. Given that Stafford wanted out, like 2 first-round picks and a third.
When they made it, that's all I looked at the picks.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, they got Goff.
Goff is almost like incidental to the deal. But I actually like him. I'm rooting for him. Last thing on Goff, you're covering the team. You're a pro. What's sort of your take on these first few weeks? He's wearing the shorts. He's slinging it. Yeah. Obviously, Dan Campbell's doing the Scotty H picking machine Moneyball thing. Oh, there's so much zip on his passes, whatever. You've already sort of, I think probably rightfully so, downplayed that. So I'll throw that out. But just what you've seen. I don't care what Dan Campbell's seen. You're objective.
Yeah, he's I think right now a lot of the timing stuff is still coming. Today there was, a 7-on-7 drill where they kind of they missed communication on some routes. Him and Cephas, I think, got crossed up a couple times. Him and Hawkinson got crossed up a couple times. And then you could see they would stop, pull aside, they'd talk it over, and then it would be fine. They'd go back through it and work it out. And that happened during OTAs as well. You would see maybe drills against air where Goff would make a throw into an area where the guy wasn't comfortable. They'd talk about, do you like that ball here on that route or here on that route, whatever, right? So I think that right now a lot of that is still happening. Like we've seen that sort of progressing, and, they're still rolling a lot of different receivers and players in there with him. And I think he's getting used to everybody still. But, right now I think a lot of it still is work on his feet, get his footwork going, because that's been another thing I've noticed. Like every drill they've done way more footwork stuff with the quarterbacks this year than we've noticed in previous years. I think that's partially with, Goff's mobility, get him out of the pocket a little bit. Work on things that he knows he's bad at, work on things that he knows he's struggled with. I think that's what they're trying to do right now. Maybe get the confidence up before camp. But the thing you're going to have to see in camp is like him take over the offense, him take the team over, and him just be this commanding presence. That Stafford, it's funny because Stafford wasn't necessarily this guy who was this commanding, but he was. He wasn't. Like he could be at times, and I think that when things get a little more competitive with pads and everything else, maybe we'll see more of that with Goff. Right now it's a little hard, but I think timing and everything else is still what they're going on.
Yeah,
right
and that's not even anything to glean much
Right.
from. That's pretty much everybody in a new system.
Mhm.
Timing's off, reps are off.
Yeah.
I don't put too much into that either way. And you've addressed what they're trying to fix in his game, but we had seen on tape when he should have theoretically been in rhythm. I get that. Sort of that little piece at the end about taking command. I know it's early. I know they're not in competitive situations yet. But if you had to guess, do you think this is his team? Like just the personality. What's the vibe with him?
Mm-hmm.
Are they feeling each other out, or did he come in and say,
it's not there yet. I don't think it's there yet. I think it. They want it to be. I think that's but I don't think it's there yet. I think the guys like him. They've talked a lot. He had guys come out with him in L.A. and work. Cephas and some of the other receivers, Williams and Perriman. I think he took guys out to dinner right after he got here, had guys over the house, all this stuff. He's trying really, really hard. And no one has said a bad word and no one has said anything, disingenuous. But it doesn't seem all the way there yet to me. Like it still seems like, that's kind of a work in progress like everything else. And I don't know what to think about that quite yet, but it definitely wasn't something where he kind of came in and it was like immediately like, oh, there's Goff. It was like, well, oh, there he is over there, right? So I think that's still a process, and maybe he just is one of these reserved guys. I don't know. We'll see. He's a quiet person. I think that's the vibe a lot of people have gotten, but people like him. They think he's a nice guy, and they respect him. So,
now, Nick, we've done 35 episodes in this format, and this is the first time that someone's been the wet blanket on a topic and not me. I'm kind of excited. Hey, is he coming in? I got Super Bowl on my resume.
Like, you think you're a curmudgeon? That's no.
Apparently, I don't know. Maybe you should host the Spiro Avenue show. I don't know. You got to get off my corners with the negativity here. I'm getting a little territorial. I'm gonna have to say something mean to catch up to you.
There you go.
No, I'm messing with you. But I like him. But it's in the same Dan Campbell category. Although Jared Goff has proven a lot more than Dan Campbell.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But just where I'm rooting for him despite their detractors.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think that and that's the thing that I would also say is the other big note there would be that everybody respects him. It's obvious. Like, no one seems like they've, not, he stops a receiver, whatever, but he stops, they talk, they chat it up, they fix stuff. It's all been positive to this point, and you can't see anything else right now.
Oh, before you go to another tab, please like, subscribe, and follow for more clips and highlights. Good? Okay.
Beautiful. That's a natural at work.